G'day. What do the thousands of people employed in Formula One get paid? For a start, few are getting rich from their endeavours. Most are doing it for the love of the sport and the excitement of travelling the world. Let's delve deeper. In the F1 paddock, you'll find people earning from $40,000 to $50 million a year, US dollars I'm talking. The 10 teams on the 2026 grid employ more than 9,000 people in total, but most of those do not come to the track. So how many staff does each of these teams have? Well, I contacted all of the teams and got answers back from 7 of them, but this is pretty much where the 10 sit. Mercedes on top with 1,250, Red Bull employing some 1,200 without the engine division, Williams 1,200, Ferrari next at 1,050, McLaren 1,000, Aston Martin and Alpine also 1,000, Sauber 750, VCarb 700, and Haas has the fewest with just 350. That's without Ferrari's engine division. Next year we'll see Cadillac as the 11th team on the grid, and we can expect them to have around 800 staff. So what are the lowest paid jobs in the paddock? Probably the team hospitality staff. They're earning $30 to $35 an hour US, but they aren't employed by the teams. The teams appoint catering companies to handle that side of the business, and as such, those companies pay their staff direct. But they do receive their outfits, accommodation, flights and transfers, and they also get fed by the team at the track. They'll work 12 plus days over the 4 days of an event, and many will have to set up on Wednesday and certainly pack up on Sunday night. And it's not uncommon for them to finish well after midnight and then front up to the airport for an early morning flight on Monday. They certainly work long hours, but they love the hustle and bustle of the paddock. Oh, and if you're looking for a bucket hat, get one of mine. Head to the shop at kimelman.com and you'll find my latest design available in pink and blue. Let's go to operational staff now, and each team's allowed to take a maximum of 60 staff. Those are people that actually work on the car. These mechanics are mostly full-time employees of each team. Salary-wise, they earn between $67,000 a year and $81,000. But what does their work week look like? They start on a Wednesday to prepare the car for the weekend, and that includes building it. But those operational staff are subject to a strict curfew. If we take a typical European race like Budapest, the curfew started at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday night, which means all of the crew had to be gone. They had to stop work and leave the paddock by 7:30 p.m. unless they decided to do an hour of exercise so they can run or ride the track. But then they must leave by 8:30 p.m. That exercise hour was brought in a few years ago, and their arrival and departure times are monitored via the electronic swipe gates. On the Thursday, they weren't allowed to enter before 8:30 a.m. and had to leave at 7:30 p.m. unless they ran the track. On Friday and Saturday, curfew finished at 9:30 a.m. and kicked in again at 10 p.m. on Friday and 7 p.m. on Saturday. And on Sunday, the curfew was lifted at 10 a.m., which was 5 hours prior to race start. And why did they bring in this curfew? Well, to stop these guys and girls working crazy hours. These days, with 24 races on the calendar, not all of the crew work every race. Some teams demand that their crew only work 20 races in a season to reduce fatigue. And while I've mentioned pay rates for standard mechanics, know that the number one mechanic for each car will be earning more, say $90,000 to $110,000 a year. Race engineers are crucial for all teams and expect them to be on around $135,000, although the likes of GP at Red Bull would probably be on way more given his past track record. Oh, and I nearly forgot strategists, $80,000 to $120,000. Do they get overtime? Well, I'm told no, but they get fed at the track, their airfares are covered, most travel economy, accommodations covered obviously, and these days they mostly get their own rooms. That's been in since COVID. Many receive a pension package, health insurance and medical insurance, and on top of that most get 27 days of annual leave, plus more days off in lieu of any extra days worked. But they have to take 10 of those days off during the summer shutdown and 5 during the European winter shutdown. What about meal allowances if they don't want to eat at the track? Well, yes, they do, but I've been told by a couple of crew that it's tied to the city they go to. So for a cheap city, perhaps like Budapest, they might get US $20 for a day, while more expensive cities might see that bumped up. But if F1 is in town, many eateries whack in their special F1 menus, which means they double or treble the prices. So your 20 US or 30 US dollars a day isn't going very far. And one ex-F1 team member told me that they were allowed to tip and claim it back from the team, but only 10%. Now, if you go to the US and you put a 10% tip on a bill at a restaurant, you're probably going to get a snarl up from the wait staff, so that extra had to come out of their pocket. You might be wondering, do crew have to work between races? Well, that depends. Let's take a look at the last 3 races of this calendar. They're all back-to-back. The crew will typically fly on the Sunday or Monday after Las Vegas to Qatar, have Tuesday off, then head to the track on Wednesday, and on the Monday after the Qatar race, they'll fly to Abu Dhabi. and get Tuesday off again. In Europe though, sometimes crew return to the factory for a day in between races if they're back to back. So we've talked mainly there about the 60 operational staff, but teams bring 50 to 60 other people to each race. Press officers, yes. Some teams have 1 or 2, top teams 3 or 4. Pay rates for this role typically range from $42K to $95. Obviously, the more experience you have, the higher the remuneration. Then there's marketing and sponsorship crew. They look after current and potential clients at the track, say 40 to 100 grand, depending on what they bring to the table. And then you get into the big money. Team managers, not team principals, team managers, 200 to 300 grand. Team principals, $1 million to 17 million. And then drivers from $500,000 to 54 million a year. But remember too, with the driver, they're losing probably between 10 and 20% to a manager, and many of the young guys have investors to repay who backed them through the early years of their career. Oh, and drivers trainers, 70 to 100 grand. When it comes to demographics in the sport, it is largely male in the garages, operational staff 20 to 40 years of age, fit and healthy, and comfortable spending 130 plus days a year away from their family and friends. Most come through the lower ranks of motorsport, and while some jobs are advertised in the likes of, say, Autosport magazine, a lot of them are just placed online on the team's websites. Here's what Williams had going the day I shot this video. But a couple of the guys I spoke to when researching this video told me that all of the jobs in a team have to first be advertised to those in the team. If they don't find someone internally, then it's advertised externally. I think a lot of people think that working in Formula One is a glamorous job. Travelling to far-flung places with like-minded people. Well, it often falls well short of that. For a start, the pressure on operational crew is intense. Just look at Lando's pit stop at Monza. The front jackman made an error that cost Lando 4 seconds. That mistake was seen by tens of millions of people, and that would have played on that crew member's mind for some time. Although we don't see car designers at the track much, they can earn huge money. At the top of the game would be Adrian Newey, reported to be on US $30 or $40 million a year, depending on which source you trust. Now, on top of the dollar amounts that I've mentioned here, if you happen to be working for a team that wins the World Constructors' Championship, you should also expect a sizable bonus at the end of the year. Red Bull staff have been used to that, and prior to that, Mercedes staff were used to it. This year, McLaren crew will be getting that bonus. Now, with Cadillac coming on board, they've been very aggressive, chasing crew up and down the paddock. And they're paying over the mark for staff, and that's resulted in teams having to pay more to keep their very best people. Certainly the money involved in F1 is enormous, but for many in the sport, it's not the money that attracts them. It's the opportunity to travel the world and be at the epicenter of the best racing category on the planet. I've got nothing else to say now, except please could you like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and check out all my other content right there. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate. Get rid of that crease.